This week Terry and I take on a limited edition Aston Martin DB11 CD20. It's one of 20 vehicles that's going to be produced for the road. This has been a press car used throughout the world and it's now ready to be restored back to better than new. It's here for the detailing treatment, the full white detail package, more on the car, more on the technical side of the car, the detailing journey to follow.
It's like me on the quad. Yeah. I'm not gonna laugh. You'll throw me off on I need you more.
Did it all in the same day yet?
No. Yeah, that that was on, was it Thursday?
Didn't think they'd be all in the same day. It's unlikely.
No. Yeah, he was desperate, of course, to play with his toy, not to be rattling around over a trailer on the back of his truck.
Yeah.
So I say it's good of him. Right, so Aston Martin DB11 CD20. What is the CD20? What does it stand for? Perhaps you saw on the side kick plate inside the door and the earlier footage the wording Classic Driver. Classic Driver stands for CD, stands for Classic Driver. 20 is the celebration of Classic Driver's 20-year anniversary, established 1998. It's a gentleman's driver's magazine, perhaps mostly online now. I'm not too sure if there's still a hard copy available for the magazine, but the relationship of Classic Driver and Aston Martin, they've been able to work together to produce 20-year anniversary, 20 cars, CD20 versions of the DB11 Aston Martin. This one, of course, being the coupe, there's going to be 10 coupes, 10 Volantes, from my knowledge. The paint code is CD grey, and then look at the interior. This is known as Parliament's Green. Oof. We'll come on to that later in the week. Classic Driver, established 1998. So the vehicle has covered 4,500 miles. This was the first off the production line of the 20. Now it's covered the mileage pretty much being a press car. It's been here, it's been there, it's been all throughout Europe. In fact, last week when I confirmed the booking, the director of the Classic Driver company, the owner of this car, was in Belgium on the way back from a photo shoot with the coupe and a Volante out somewhere in Europe for a press photo shoot. So performance-wise, this is the 4-litre V8 as per the GT that Aston Martin offer. There's no drivetrain, chassis or performance differences between this CD20 version and the standard DB11 that you can buy from Aston Martin directly themselves. However, it's the cosmetic pack. I'm sure you've spotted it now on the earlier footage, but the lower satin carbon fibre is in a real sort of dark khaki green. The CD grey paint code is completely unique to this car. Green on the bottom here as well, the little plaque. The wheels, as we look, the wheels have the centre cap.
That's nice, isn't it?
It is, yeah, nice touch. Every CD20 will be the same. You can't change this combination from what it is. This is the celebration of Classic Driver's 20-year anniversary. Perhaps we ought to speak to Aston Martin when WhiteDetails hits 20 to have a WD-15. That's not going to it.
WD-15, yeah.
Yeah.
Won't be long.
White and red stripes down the side. Spinners.
Yeah, go fast.
Out of the 20 so far, I think there are 7 names to the cars. 7 have sold so far, with some still remaining. So why is this car in particular here for the white detail? Well, I'll say this is a press car. It's now about finished. It's touring, so it now needs to be restored. Back to better than new. If we look over the bonnet, well, I can see buffer trailing here from the factory. There's lots of bug etchings. Perhaps this has been blasting down the autobahns in Germany. All this etching hasn't washed off. There's going to need some pretty heavy cutting. Some of the bad areas have been pointed out, some marks in the back here. Scratch, all the haze is a scratch that runs across that way. Also located a chip here as well, which I hope the owner knows about. Now the near side of the vehicle, left-hand drive obviously, but the near side has had an encounter with a bush, I'm told, in Belgium. So we'll no doubt look forward to finding some hedgerow scratches down here. But if you've been here before, if you know anything about detailing and Aston Martins, you will know that there is always room for improvement from the factory. These pigtails, sander marks, they're littered over the car, all over the car, in the corners, the crevices, even in the flat of the door here, there are little ticks. The bottom of the panel, lots of ticks. Ooh, it gets particularly heavy down here in the wing. Common traits, unfortunately. More time, more knowledge, more equipment needs to be put in place to get these cars better before they leave the factory. So although this press car has done 4,500 miles, when it leaves here end of the week, this will be one of the best examples out there because it has had the extra touch in terms of the polishing. This is going to be better than a factory finish once it leaves, because it's not going to have any of these heavy edges and dull sander marks. More damage spotted on the offside. This is on the wind mirror. There's an abrasion here. It runs to the very end. That isn't going to be polished out, unfortunately. Wow! Deja vu from another recent Aston Martin that visited us here. Look at that lot. Gonna need it. Oof. Gonna need. Yeah. You're going to need your glasses on for this one, Terry. Right. Oh, this door's bad. This door's full of it. Bit like you, really. I think this is the hedgerow side. I think he's confused. Driving on the other side of the road in Belgium, maybe it's this side as the hedgerow side. Lots of people think that these defects are only visible in that forced light, the handheld light I'm using there, but no. Look here. You see the haze that runs across the roof edge, and it comes down there, that little cluster. Let me show you that in a different light with the torch. Them white spots that run all the way through. Same area with the handheld torch, as expected. It's flat, it's dull because of unfinished sanding marks. All the way along the edge of the roof rail here, particularly heavy down here, gloss black. Buffer trailing on here, it's going to need some attention. There's a cluster of denibbing marks here. This is on the boot lid. Again, putting that handheld light away, you can see that quite clearly shouting out. Even if it was a sunny, natural lighting day without these lights. Ooh, that's a good spot. Here. In the wing here, you see how, again, white it is down the bottom there. And at the same time, thrown into the mix, there's some deeper scratches. Can you see this one on camera? Here, it's quite a large one. It runs through all the way back to there. It's not a scratch. It's perhaps many people would say, oh, my car's scratched, but that is going to take some chasing to make the paint perfect, which is this week's objective. In the back end of the air duct, this is where the air comes through, down, up to give some downforce without the spoiler. See in the little 10mm section there?
Look at that. Jesus.
This is fiddly because there's such a small trim. It's going to be difficult to correct that without putting too much heat.
Have you got this bit on camera?
I've got it all here.
Oh God. There we go. Oh God.
What do you rather do, new car preps or white details?
A bit of both. Otherwise you'd go mad.
Well, this is essentially new car stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. True.
We're going to do half a bonnet each because that's a bit of a monster.
Yeah, one. It's a bit of a... Oh, God.
It's huge, like an Xbox.
It's all the pigtails down this bonnet, Jim.
Oh, here we go. It's like we're still at the bottom of Everest.
Yeah.
This is after 2 main cuts with a big pad, 2 main cuts with a 3-inch down the side. Just discussing with Terry, that is the edges that are typically heavy. They're the worst affected areas because they're the hardest areas to get decent contact with the machine polisher to. Thus, why it's so important to do the correct edge work. Nonsense that was. Alright. Starting to realise this is going to be a pretty long week actually. Roof all cut and this little lips section back here for the third brake light. Now working across this shoulder. It's well and good reaching for the 3-inch to get the edges, but actually areas like the very brow of the top here, like this, you see how heavy that is? The 3-inch actually doesn't quite comfortably sit tight. You can't really get too much downwards cut on there. It sort of almost skims the top. You can tickle it, but what you're doing is put a lot of pressure on that very edge. So here on this lower portion, we've done the bulk of it with the 3, and then actually the very bottom around and the very top down, you'll reach for the Rupes hybrid. This gives you a much tighter, more accurate way of cutting these convex areas. For example, the first 50-50 of the job so far, look for the 50-50 coming in on the spotlight on the end of the roofline there. WhiteDetails finish, Aston Martin factory finish. You can now start to see the metallic in this paint, CD grey. There's a lot of green in there, a lot of green. So I'm going to work my way forward to the bottom of the shoulder here. It's just approaching 6 PM and that'll do for tonight.
down there, and then same bit of grip goes all the way down here, and it was dug on the boot bit in the bottom.
Right. I was working with driving when they last here to Italy. Same before. So remember I said this vehicle is owned by Classic Driver. I say owned, it's their model, it's their piece. We're joined today by Robert Cooper, Mr. Robert Cooper of RCW Photography. Robert's down. Oh, is that right?
Come on, get it right. They call him One Tick Jim.
RWC. What's your middle name? William. Robert William Cooper. Wow, that's it.
That's a good word.
Beautiful British name.
Yeah.
Beautiful British name.
Yeah.
Oh, my battery light's flashing. We're joined today by Robert Cooper from RWC Photography. Classic Driver will be making a showcase, an edit on their magazine, the online magazine of this car. So Robert's here documenting some photos. Terrace finalists are working the bonnet. I finished the roof and the shoulder panels. I finished that last night at 6 PM. Just doing a little bit on this boot lid here. But for demonstration purpose only, the worst area on the car has been this driver's door. Ready for the 50/50? Bosh! 50/50 coming in with the heavy pigtails. Now that's a nice example to show the camera for both my viewers, the vlog viewers, and the editorial side of things for the magazine. Factory finish, detailed finish, and to be honest that's a bit rushed. It hasn't yet been fully cut. You can still see there's ticks and bits left here, but they'll be picked up when this lot's picked up. Are you okay with me saying about your Instagram?
Yeah.
Instagram page? RWC_photo.
Yeah.
If you'd like to learn more about Robert's work, Classic Driver, all the information can be down in the video description below. Robert's Instagram is RWC_photo. So this little beast hasn't made it to the vlog before. Actually, this has been sent in from Japan from a friend, the Kamikaze collection. Kai, thank you sir for this. I'm not sure if I can publicly use this footage yet, so I need to confirm and double check, but we have a little tiny rotary polisher. That was a mistake. For use in areas like this, look how heavy the sander marks are up here. Top of the door, completely flat. So, gonna master off the front of the bonnet there, give it a whirl.
There you go.
The only thing about it is you can't turn it off on the machine, it's here.
Oh, is it got
It's
to
reach.
Oh, you got to carry that little transformer then.
Yeah. Oh, I thought the Joker was recording. Say cheese, Rob. Oh, buzz on that one. Look at that bad boy, sorted. Very nice. Buffer trailing down here, but that's going to be sorted now with the 3" in the hybrid. But that is looking good. Digging out the tiny rotary again for the back end now. This whole boot lid is complete. The big work, the 5" to the 3". Now, check out the sander marks and this tiny little 10mm strip that runs all the way across. Perhaps worth doing a 50/50 here. Tape off, polish this bit, you'll see again the difference. Little test section on this air brake now, and wait for the 50-50 there. Sander marks, obviously still needs refining, but you can see the difference in the clarity, the colour. Tiny little details, but it's these details that make all the difference. That's a hell of a stance there, Rob.
Sorry?
That's a hell of a stance. Full squat. Yeah. Return to sender. I read a letter to the postman. Oh. Progress isn't fantastic. Working on some of the hybrid areas around this cluster. Got all this to do, got all that to do later when we drop down onto this bumper section, I suppose you'd call it. Are you getting as fed up as Sander marks as I am? Anyway. This ledge, this 10mm vertical, I don't know why they even bother sanding these in the first place. What would it make? Is it made that much difference having that sanded? Yes, here and across, but these edges, these delicate fins and the intricacies are just making hard work. I've had to back away from this. It looks pretty good, but actually there, all along, I've left ticked pine. There's bits, the sander marks in there, deep ticks. I've hit that 3 heavy times, 3 hits with the hybrid, which is, I'm now fearful of burning an edge. So I'm, hands up, I'm out of this now. Sorry, done my bit. Can't take it anymore. Well, I suppose, actually I could, but I ain't gonna be the one to burn through for such a small area that's hard to see, impossible to see outside, if I'm honest. Jesus Christ. 25 to 8, Tuesday, after a bit of a delay today, to be honest. Pretty slow progress on the bonnet, the scale, the size, the severity of those. I don't think I picked the camera up really, but the scratches that ran up here, they continued over there and down here and through there and across and under. Pieces of grit that have been transported pretty much. They took some work. So slow progress on half the bonnet, this half of the bonnet. Terry's been down the near side lower wing, working across the door. Terry leaves at 4:30 and I've just been getting on since. Great to see Rob today, and I thank him again for his time with us. Offside, this is the hedgerow abrasion, so it's no wonder. Look how it's difficult to perhaps judge. Look at the lift in the door and the lift in the wing. The wing is so much more out compared to the door, so I'm guessing maybe the front end's had some abrasions with the bush as well, but the door is shallow compared to the deep arch. And we can see that because the scratches are on the most part horizontal. You see how they run across. Got some deeper ones thrown into the mix here, and then you'll see where I've started to cut. So working across from there pretty much forward. Gonna tackle that one again. Otherwise, I've completed the back ends. I still have the lens to do, but this shroud, this panel is done. Lower portions, all the boot lids done. In and around the badge was pretty heavy. Need to do these lenses and that lens still. And then on the top, a lot of marks in and around. But it's not over yet. See you tomorrow, guys. Wednesday morning now on this side skirt on the offside, and Santa Marks. A bit of a 50-50, but you can see lower down I'm not able to get tight to the sill, so I'm going to run that a couple more times. That's after 2 cuts, so 2 cuts in, and the most part the rest of it is fine, just that lower portion, but the hybrid perhaps needs to come out now to get tight into that bottom corner. I would bring you closer into the action, but the GoPro batteries just died. Sauce. The idea being then that the tape is taking the grunt, is taking the edge, hopefully protecting. That said, I still don't want to hit this too hard down there. It might be that if this little 1 square foot or square section needs any more than sort of 3-4 cuts, I'd probably end up replacing or adding more tape, because you end up sort of wearing through the tape to wear through the paint, which we don't want. But as you can see, there's some pretty severe marks down there. So let's buff this and see how it looks. That's working pretty well. It's clean down the bottom. You can see this is before condition. As we go across, it's pretty much clearing things up down there, I think. Yep. I must apologise today because I've completely forgot about the camera. It's just on 5:30 Thursday. Wheels are coated, refining has been completed. Then we've made a start on the interior, so this needs a final sort of wipe over and leather protection tomorrow. Is there a button to go back here? Apart from this, I'm told that this little detail has been to replicate one of the earlier James Bond's cars, where the switches and the rocket launchers and the oil slip and the ejector seat, they're all hidden behind a slidey console. So that's that. Toothpickery has been made which is me going around every single crevice in and around the door handle, underneath the black, into the channels on the roof line, around the PPF section down here, across there, in there, through here, around the badge. Any previous and new polish residue that's built up, there was quite a fair bit, to be honest. We sit this evening on charge, little C-Tech charger. So yeah, we're happy. The cutting, as you can see, into the very corners, the very sides, into the top crevice there, underneath the window trim to the very tight corners. It's all true, it's all as you would expect for a £200,000 car. It's amazing how heavy the edges are here as well, the swage line there. You work the 3-inch pad and there's just 6mm of sander marks, 6mm of sander marks and above, 6mm below, to really work the hybrid along these edges. Anyway, I'm waffling now, that's me done. Tomorrow, application of kamikazes and pan coat. Then I got to do inside the door shuts, final bit of work under the engine bay. 4-litre V8. It's quite an aggressive looking thing, that. Work out what we're going to put on the satin green, the diffuser, side skirts and splitter at the front. Protect the fabrics. And we're about there. And it's still raining. It's been raining for about 4 days solid. The box hedges will be happy though. After spending a good amount of time on a lower mesh, where somebody, when this has been polished, they've overlapped and caught the mesh with a rotary polisher, a wall pad, something, and covered it all in polish residue. So I've just been spending 20 minutes fiddling that out, and then I look up, and somebody's been under here as well. This grill, it's not very pretty. All of the plastic's covered in polish. The undersides, it's pretty dark for the camera to see that. Polish residue, polish residue, polish residue. Generally a ton of polish residue. That's not going to be much fun. And using the magic eraser to get the polish off these stems is going to scratch the black. So how do we do that? FML. If you don't know what FML stands for, Google it. Perhaps they could have actually made a template, made one template to fit. There, clean it, there, clean it, there, clean it. But no. Okay. Before we tape all the rest of it, I'm just going to actually do what I want to do, see if it works before we go in and tape the rest of the other half. Little magic sponge, trim that into two. Bit of APC. Give it a bit of a rub. That's good enough for me. Before, after. It works pretty well. It's gonna need a bit of finesse once the tape's all off. See you in an hour and a half. Well, that's that finished. I did think at the start that I'm a fool and I should mask the actual paintwork here. And sure enough, it has marked, so I need to now repolish the area, but it's not a big deal. Really should have taken extra precautions on the paintwork there. This obviously is just wet smudging and needs repolishing later now that verticals are finished. But marring induced on the paintwork from the bad contact whilst squeezing into the slats. Right, I'm going to whiz around the car now with Zip-Pan Coat, Kamikaze Collection Zip-Pan Coat. Perhaps I'll set a time lapse. It's going to be about 2 hours. Then it's the exterior glass, the interior shiny bits, the chromes, the shiny surfaces, tyres need dressing. So we'll see you at the end for a little chat, and then we can look forward to seeing the after footage, hopefully in some sunshine. It's still raining, day 5 of solid rain. That, Mr. Aston Martin, is how you present an Aston Martin DB11 CD20 edition vehicle. All surface protection applied after the most part of this job, of course, is the polishing, the major paint correction, multi-stage machine correction, chasing paintwork perfection. Yes, there were some abrasions and scratches down the offside where the bushes had been flying down the side of the car, and maybe one or two. Terry did some magical work on the bonnet with some grit. Grit had been transported in a rag or towel across the bonnet. There were some deep scratches up there. That's all sorted, but as you've seen, the most part was the sander marks, the factory-induced sander marks. The paint looks as glossy and as flat and as nice as it does, obviously because of the polishing, but also they're sanded. The factory, they're sanded, they're levelled to remove the orange peel out of the lacquer. At that point, it's the polishing which lets them down. The factory, they don't quite polish thoroughly enough. They probably haven't got the correct equipment, chemicals, compounds, knowledge or timescales to be able to perform this correctly. So it's taken Terry and I 4 days of polishing, and perhaps the team on the production line maybe get 4 hours. So that's it, I'm out of here. It's Friday night. Thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed. Thank you as always to the WhiteDetails Patreons. If you're new here, it's your first time, if you enjoyed the content, consider hitting subscribe to help the channel to grow and for future updates and notifications when new content is published. Find us on Instagram for daily behind the scenes at WhiteDetails on Instagram. There's going to be a little break on the vlog, unfortunately. Again, I've backed up with lots of editing from last week's work and the week before that. I've got 3 episodes to work through, so bear with me. There'll be more content in the coming weeks. August, there's a good few WhiteDetails to look forward to where we'll pick up the camera. Hope all is well. Take care. All the best. Goodbye. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. Bye-bye.